and cybersecurity over the past year. HR firms say it comes amid a shortage of these workers globally and tightened border controls. Chloe Chu reports.
Zachary Johnson has a skill that's much in demand in Singapore. The American is a data storyteller in a local human resource firm. What he does is crunch numbers for companies and turn them into simple diagrams and charts for meaningful business insights.
A technical data professional is everyone from a data scientist to data engineers who understand the differences between different methods of detection of outliers and clustering. There are also non-technical data professionals like myself who understand how we collect the data, to how we process it, clean it, prepare it, and how we, most importantly, tell people what we found.
Such skills are among those most lacking in the country. Others include cybersecurity, software engineering, and cloud designing. HR firms say almost 80% of foreign expats coming in amid tighter border controls are for these jobs. It's set to continue this year, with firms needing 10 to 15% more tech professionals by year end. Mostly, they'll need people who can start work straight away. The pipeline of local talent is also only just beginning to enter the workforce.
This whole disruption happened, 3, 4, 5 years ago? We are always told to come out and take a degree that's professional. So when you talk about data literacy, data scientist, it's a skill on top of what profession you need. And that's new to all of us. If a fresh grad were to have started data science degree 4 years ago, would only graduate like now.
IT skills are also most urgently needed in fast-growing innovative sectors such as medtech. For instance, Siemens Healthineers had to hire expats to be cybersecurity experts, but it says their global experience will also help train locals.
They move into Singapore, there's a lot of knowledge sharings that they have brought across to our team member and also to our clients as well. So we see this as an important knowledge exchange, and we see this as an important way to accelerate the maturity of our local talent as well as the market here.
By 2025, Amazon Web Services estimates that Singapore will need about 100,000 data scientists and 1.2 million workers in the digital field. Firms are confident that the skills gap will narrow even more by then.
Hi, a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time in today's webinar. We're about to begin, and I think over the past couple of weeks, we have literally received tremendous response for this particular webinar, which clearly indicates and shows that a lot of you are very interested and really appreciates the topic of today, which is New World, New Skills. Discover the importance of data literacy in accounting and finance. So my name is Joe. I am the Chief Product Officer of the Center of Applied Data Science, also known as CATS, and I'll also be your moderator for today. All right. So before we begin, I would really appreciate if all of us could really adhere to some of these basic webinar guidelines, which I'm very sure all of you are very familiar with, right? So just appreciate it if throughout the whole session, your microphones will be muted, right? If let's say you have any questions at any time, feel free to put in your questions into the Q&A chat box function at the bottom, right? Try to minimize any distractions, and of course, your webcam will be disabled throughout the webinar session. All right. So very quickly, the agenda, it is very simple and it's also very compact, right? We'll start off with a simple welcome address from ACCA, right? And then, of course, we'll go through the webinar proper by none other than Mr. Chari. We'll take some Q&As, and of course, we'll end with a brief introduction in terms of our Advanced Enterprise Data Practitioner program, right? So do stay tuned towards the end until the session, because that's where you have to register yourself, and also because you'll be receiving your 1 CPD points as well, right? So there'll be a link that we will provide for you as well, all right? So without further ado, just a quick introduction, right? This webinar will not be a success without the collaboration, support, as well as partnership with our partners, ACCA, right? So I'd just like to invite Ms. Vela, who's the head of members of ACCA, Maritime Southeast Asia, to give a short welcoming address to all of you. So over to you, Vela.
Well, thank you, Joe. Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of y'all. Thank you so much for allocating your precious time to be with us today on this insightful session, New World, New Skill, to future-proof your career by acquiring data literacy skills. I think I know most of you here, I can see from the list, but if you don't, I'm Vila Ganispati, Head of Members at ACCA Maritime Southeast Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, the use of analytics by finance and the accounting profession is not new. Many finance teams have been using data to report on trends and past performance for years. However, in the post-pandemic world, which is evolving at a rapid speed, organizations need to do more, focusing on business resilience and business sustainability in a data-driven journey. The increased availability of data and analytic tools have opened up to a range of opportunities for the finance function. Analytics can facilitate more forward-looking finance function, enabling the generation of greater insights, supporting organizations with strategy, bringing immense value to stakeholders and businesses in this agile environment. I'm sure you can't agree more. Knowing the importance of equipping our members with the right data literacy skills, ACCA has partnered with the Center of Applied Data Science, CADS, I think you all have seen the introduction earlier, to develop a well-blended program which will enable our members to work, analyze, and communicate data in an effective way, thus becoming a true business partner to your organization. We will run the details of the program at the end of the session, so please stay tuned. Today, we are also able to hear from our strategy guru, Mr. Chari TVT, a board member and a former Group CFO of Axiata Berhad, on the importance of data literacy in supporting your organization to make the right decision and to move forward in this ever-changing landscape. I've always admired Mr. Chari for his fortsightedness and honored to have him here to address our members. Thank you, Mr. Chari, for spending your afternoon with us. Without further ado, please allow me to pass the session back to Joe from CADS to do a short introduction, and then to Mr. Chari. Over to you, Joe.
Thank you so much, Vila, for the quick welcome address. So very quickly, I think for all of you all who do not know CADS, I'm just going to give you a very brief and short introduction on who CADS is, right? So who are we? So we are the Center of Applied Data Science. We're a skill intelligent management solution company that really tries to encourage companies as well as individuals to upskill themselves in the area of data literacy, right? So what do? Essentially, we do three key things, right? Number one, we help organizations as well as individuals to really predict what are some of the skills that is being required for them and for the organization. And from there, of course, we help them to resolve in terms of what the right learning intervention will then be necessary for them as well as for the organization. And of course, we monitor the progress of the learning and the progress of the individuals and the organization as well. So over the years, over the past 5-6 years, we have upskilled and trained more than 12,000 over individuals. We have helped more than 300 over organizations, and we have presence across 6 different countries, Malaysia being our key operation center, and we are headquartered in Singapore. All right. So just very quickly, all the things that we do is all done via our platform. We call it the Skill Intelligent platform, where whatever we do to take you to become a future-ready data professional is where the CAS Air platform equips the talent with the right data literacy skills, resources, as well as relevant jobs. So we'll take you through the journey in terms of some of the key steps that the platform will take. Right. So without further ado, I'll just like to give you a quick learning outcome that you get from today's session with Mr. Chari. Of course, some of the things that you learn from today is really about the importance of data literacy for ACCA members. How do you future-proof your career progression? What's some of the top skills that's really required in your workforce or in your organization post the pandemic? And what does it mean to become a data-driven organization and the impact it has to yourself as well as to your organization? Right. So without wasting too much time, I would just like to invite Mr. Chari, who is also our board of advisor with the Center for Applied Data Science. And as like what Vila mentioned, he's the former Group Chief Financial Officer of Axiata, who's also the former Chief Financial Officer of Celcom, who has done instrumental initiatives that has contributed to excellent financial performance for Celcom. So he's the best person for this talk. And it is my great honor to welcome Mr. Chari. Over to you, Mr. Chari, for your session. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for a wonderful introduction. And Villa, again, thanks for your kind words. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to present what I want to say today, new world and new skills. Give me 1 second if I can. Cheers now. So the topic today is a new world and new skills. Are we living in a new world? And do we need new skills? It is a great topic. And I keep talking about this regularly in many platforms. This is an interesting topic. And, you know, I've been working for the last 40 years, and I've seen what it was before and where we are today and where we are heading. So that's what I want to probably share with you as to where were we, where are we today, and where are we heading, and how is the big words that's being used in terms of analytics and digital transformation and digital disruption. How are they influencing the work that we will be doing moving forward? So this is a great opportunity. So listen to me for about 35 to 40 minutes. We've got a few slides, few videos that I want to share with you, which will hopefully demonstrate that we are moving into a digital, a new world. It's a digital world. It is exciting. I wish I'm 30 years younger. I can't be. But fundamentally, the world moving forward is a lot more exciting than what it was 30 years back. Right? So my agenda is going to be very simple. It's going to be talking about evolution of finance, from a bean counter to a co-pilot to a strategic advisor to where we need to go. It's a good long journey, and I'm sitting in the subcommittee board of MIA, the Malaysian Institute of Accountants, called the PAIB, and we talk about this all the time. How is technology helping the finance professionals? Now, once you start embracing the new concepts, and most of you have, and once you embrace it, I think your profession, your job, your career will all be extremely positive. And as Villa rightly pointed out, and I like the way she said what she said, analytics is not new to finance professionals. We were doing that 40 years back, right? And what we now do is a lot more sophisticated than what it was before. But fundamentally, the basic concept, if somebody can succeed in analytics, it's the finance professionals who can succeed in analytics. And so to the extent, just keep it at the back of your mind. And these are extremely sophisticated analysis, which will make you think a lot more and add value to the organization. Ultimately, we are here to add value to the organization. Now, if I look at the evolution of finance, we were all called as bean counters, gatekeeper, goalkeeper, whatever you want to. So somebody's going to kick the ball, and our job is, be very careful and hold the ball when somebody kicks it. And this is, 20 years back, 25 years back, and that's what we've been doing. Bean counter is accounting, debits and credits, and close the books in time, and go back and report that you did well, you didn't do well, kind of stuff. And we were also called, fundamentally, we were called introverts. We don't speak as much, right? And we have a lot of ideas. We've got lots of thoughts. We've got lots of numbers. We've got lots of analysis, but we don't go and speak. And as a result of which, we were kept in one corner. Yeah, that's why they call us bean counters. That's why we call them goalkeepers. And that's why they were calling whatever they were calling. We were also at one point in time, again, an old story is a naysayer. Anything that comes to, we'll say no. We will not take any risk associated with. But today it is not the case. Like today they're saying that, look, you are a co-pilot. Can you come and sit with the CEO of the organization? Sit in the strategy table. Can we go and discuss how we want to move forward? And so we have moved a long way from where we were about 20 years back to where we are today. And I think I'm pretty happy with the progress that we have made, the recognition that we are getting. And we also find a number of CFOs becoming CEOs of the organization because the board trusts the CFOs. So I think we have moved, but moving forward is going to be even more exciting. And that's what we want to probably go and talk about. Now, again, 15, 20 years back or 10 years back, we were talking about information, and we collect all this information, put them into a dashboard and present. And again, like we are so conservative that we don't even present as well. And that's why data storytelling becomes important. We will talk about that later. But fundamentally, creating an impact for the organization is going to be a lot more important. Now, in the past, what we were doing is we were spending a huge amount of time closing books, right? And making sure that all the IFRS rules are right and controls are right and all that stuff. And this does not mean that all these are going away, right? These are considered as hygiene factors. And most of these will be done by a machine. So if we are using Oracle or SAP or whatever it is, the books will be closed by SAP and Oracle to a great extent, by minimum manual intervention. Most of the systems are integrated, but that gives you more time to think, more time to analyze, more time to add value to the organization. And that's where the world is heading. Right. And again, as I said to you, the expectations of the board, the expectations of the management team, the expectations have gone up substantially in terms of what to expect out of a finance professional in an organization. But embrace it. It is important that every day you go to the office to say, how much more value can I add to the organization? How can I help the top line? We never used to think, in the olden days, we never used to think top line is my responsibility. And today, the expectation is the top line is your responsibility, bottom line is your responsibility, controls are your responsibility, ROIC is your responsibility. So fundamentally, you add substantial amount of value to the organization by thinking very differently from what you were thinking before. Now, why all this sudden change? We were all living in a comfortable world. We were just closing the books and reporting after about 15 days or 20 days, saying that, and then do a budget versus actuals, a variance analysis, and you write nice reports and end of the story, right? The reason why things are changing is because of this word called disruption. And disruption is happening every day, every minute, every industry, everybody. And I'll tell you a couple of examples. Even my own example is, and I keep saying this, I was working for a company called Cellcom, which is a telecommunication company, very large. We had a revenue of 8 billion. Out of the 8 billion, 2 billion came out of SMS, inbound roaming, outbound roaming, SMS. I used to get about 1,000 SMSs. Most of you won't even know by now what SMS is, right? And today only the banks use for OTP. Other than that, nobody else is using SMS these days. I used to get about 1,000 SMS for every Hari Raya, every Deepavali, every New Year, every whatever. And today, how much do I get? 0. How much do you get? 0. What do you get? WhatsApp. Now, suddenly somebody above came in, then it's not the competitor who took the business. It is not Maxis which took the business. It is not Digi who took the business. It is not U-Mobile which took the business. Who took the business is an over-the-top player called WhatsApp. He just came and took the business away. And that is the strongest form of disruption. And that's happening in every single industry. The more you think about it, you suddenly find that, somebody is just taking away your business in a way, right? Now, the best part or the worst part of this is this, that when WhatsApp takes this business away from you, they don't even charge the customer. They give it free. Now, if I'm charging $1 and Villa charges 80 cents or something, I can go and fight with Villa and say, okay, I'll bring down the price to 75. Let's go and fight. If Villa gives it to it for $0 free, how can I go and fight? That's one. Second, customer experience for any digital disruption is so high, so high. Have you ever called up a call center or WhatsApp to say that, look, I was actually sending this photograph to Villa. It didn't go. Can you find out as to what's happening? Never. Billions of customers, like why they have about 3 billion customers. There is no call center. So one, it is free. Two, the customer experience is extremely good and they are extremely scalable. And that is a digital disruption that I'm talking about. So the one example that I gave is telecommunication company that I worked for 8-9 years. And I'll give you a few more examples of why this digital disruption is impacting all of us. And if you don't wake up suddenly, then we could get into trouble. Now, banking industry is getting disrupted to a great extent. Suddenly if you go and ask Grab, what is the next big thing for you? Grab says, I want to be in fintech, right? Grab delivery has done well, but they also want to get into the fintech business. And Boost is into fintech. Touch and Go is into fintech. Retail business is getting disrupted because of people like Amazon. Amazon is today a $1 trillion company. A $1 trillion company, unimaginable. And so if you have a big store or a Giant or a Carrefour or whatever it is, and you're so worried that somebody is coming and taking away your business, so what would you do? Right? And so this is the role of finance. As a company, if I had to sustain my organization, again, Villa use this word sustain. Sustainability is key for the organization. For the organization to sustain themselves, they need to have people who are well-trained, can think well, and keep the organization going by coming out with some creative ideas, which will help to enhance the value of the organization, right? Communication, we spoke about. Hospitality, Airbnb came and just took away the business from Marriott. And also, if you see the incumbents, they are called the brick and mortar companies. Brick and mortar. Brick is, when you build your construction, you do the brick and mortar. The one on the right, the attackers are called the click and mortar, right? And so you use your mouse to click. And so the click and mortar companies are literally taking over the brick and mortar companies. This does not mean that the brick and mortar companies are dying. The brick and mortar companies will stay, but the brick and mortar companies will have to move towards a digital click and mortar company. So it is interesting that we need to understand these concepts fairly well as we move. And I'll link this to analytics a little later, but you need to understand basically why we need to get into analytics, primarily because of the fact that we are getting disrupted. And suddenly, and I was talking to somebody who was fairly large in Malaysia, selling BMW cars, for example. And I was asking 2.5 years back, I was sitting in front of the CFO and said that, look, tomorrow, do you think BMW will come and be sold on Lazada? He said, unlikely. But, within a short while, somebody came and said, Audi in Singapore will unveil new cars on Lazada shop. Now, today, if I look at any showroom for that matter, the showroom is swanky. Absolutely. You are talking about high-end customers, right? It is swanky. You need to hire some best people. It has to be fully air-conditioned. It has to be kept clean. And it is a high price, obviously, you need to. Now, imagine if I have about 100 showrooms, if I can bring it down to maybe 10 or 20, right? And these 10 or 20, you need to have some brick and mortar. It can't be completely click and mortar anyway. And then use technology to drive incremental business. Then your profitability is higher. You can sustain yourself. And competitors can't take away your business. And so this is where, so whether it is a small business or a big business or a very high value product or a low value product can all be digitized, right? And again, like I'll give you 1 or 2 more examples around this, then you'll be convinced that it is true. It is impacting. If you think that your business is not getting impacted, you need to think harder, right? Somebody else is doing a better job, slowly, steadily, developing these ideas and disrupt your business, right? And so, we spoke about this click and mortar versus brick and mortar platform business. Now, the one on the right, which is the Marriott versus Airbnb, just take a look at that. It took 88 years for Marriott, which is a brick and mortar company, to build 697,000 rooms in 80 countries. whereas Airbnb took only 4 years to build 650,000 rooms in 192 countries. So what do? They just create a platform. The platform moves from country to country. It is not the asset that moves from country to country. That's one of the reasons why Marriott took 88 years to get into 80 countries. Right? Whereas here, they just provide a platform. They provide a platform, just moves. Airbnb provides a platform and it moves, right? And the other thing very interesting with some of these disrupting companies are that they don't own any of the assets, correct? Their ROIC is much better because Marriott has to have assets, each building costing some billions of dollars in 80 countries, whereas Airbnb does not own any of those assets. So all that they provide is a platform, seamless, and it helps excellent customer experience. The customer will be very happy to go there and place the order, go and stay, come back. And then some of these platforms are so smart, it also changes the behavior of people. You know, I can go on lecturing for a long time in terms of but fundamentally, when I go to Marriott, for example, and stay, if I have to get up early in the morning, I get up, I take a quick shower, rub myself nicely in a towel, I throw the towel in the bathtub and run, right? Whereas when I go and stay in an Airbnb, I know that somebody is watching me, somebody is going to rate me. I do the same thing. I get up early, rub myself nicely in it, but I fold the towel properly and keep it in one corner. So suddenly the behavior changes, you know. So pretty interesting in terms of how the new world and the new skill sets required are very different from what it was before, right? Now, if you don't embrace whatever that happened to Nokia and Kodak will happen to you, it's all an existential threat for all of us, and we got to be careful. Now, so we spoke about this digital disruption. Again, there are numerous examples that we can give you, but given the interest of time, probably we will move on. But every single industry is getting disrupted, and if you don't, I mean, please think through and relate it to your own industry. And most of you will know this, but some of you think that my industry is not disrupted. I think a little harder. Now, let's probably move on to the next piece, which is the digital transformation. So we know that your business is getting disrupted. And so the next step is, you know, how do I go and transform myself? Right. Again, these are just very simple examples in terms of business model. You need to think very hard about your business model, right? And then radically simplify your business. So I'll give you a couple of examples very quickly, and then you digitize wherever it's possible, right? And the entire thing, the foundation of digital transformation sits on a data-driven culture. If your organization is not data-driven, you will find it difficult to either change the business model properly, or radically simplify what you're doing, or digitize what you're otherwise manually doing, right? And so creating a data-driven culture is going to be important for you to take the right kind of decision to sustain yourself. And this is where, you know, I want to give some samples of videos that you can take a look at to say, yep, this makes sense. Now, on the business model, Rolls-Royce, which is selling engines, for example, doesn't go to Singapore Airlines and say, can you pay me $75 million for my aircraft engine? They only say that, look, can you pay me $1,500 per every hour of flight, but with a minimum guarantee of so much of money? You know, so and again, it's a completely different business model. It helps them to maintain their brand image, reputation, proper maintenance, as well as making sure that they get the 15-year of maintenance revenue. Otherwise, they'll probably give it to somebody else. And so Rolls-Royce went and changed the business model to sustain themselves. Literally, the minute they sell, they know that that engine is under their care for 15 years. A small little tweak in the business model will make a huge difference with respect to sustainability. Right? So somebody is sitting there and thinking, this person could be a finance person who would have come back and said that, look, let's go and do $1,800, $1,500 per hour, and it still makes sense for me. Right? And so this is where you come in to say, and all of us as finance professionals will have to start thinking about it. Again, there are multiple examples, but I'll give you just one more example of how disruptive the businesses can be if you're not careful. Let's say I am a brick and mortar insurance company giving you insurance for cars, right? Villa drives the same car that I drive, let's assume, right? And Villa drives about 100,000 kilometers every year, whereas I drive only 20,000 kilometers, primarily because of the fact that I'm much older. Two is I park my car always in my car parking lot. I don't drive as much. So should I pay the same amount of insurance premium as Villa? Should I not pay 1/5 of what Villa pays because the risk is limited? And so this insurance company will come back and say that, look, okay, I am going to from now on charge you on the basis of the number of kilometers. So suddenly people like me will wake up and say, wow, this is fantastic, I'll go. So this is a digital disruption that somebody can go direct and say that, look, this is a business model innovation and a disruption that you can create to a normal brick and mortar company, which has been thinking that, oh, I've been having a great time, let me continue to charge Villa and Chari the same amount of money. So again, think about it. Every single industry has got an opportunity. The more you think, the more opportunities that you get. Radical simplification, those days, we used to have the checking the checker, and those days are gone. And today it's all about radically simplify the stuff. One example is, if I go to Apple and say that, look, my Apple phone is not working, the only question they ask is it within warranty? The answer is yes, they give you a new unit and you go. Right? Radically simplify. You can't afford to have about 5 machines waiting to check whether what he said is right or wrong. You cannot afford to have 25 people in a room to check whether what he's saying is right or wrong or verify. Right? It's all automated in a way. Come back, and if it's within warranty, I'll give you a new unit, get on the flight. So if you radically simplify, imagine at a global level, the amount of money that you save will be much larger, customer satisfaction is high, and as a result of which, your overall cost will also come down, as a result of which your profitability is higher, you can sustain for a much longer period, right? And same thing with digitization, wherever possible, go and digitize it. And again, one example that I normally give is this, that in Celcom, where I was, we had 12 million subscribers. I had 1,500 people in the call center. And when you looked at all the call center calls that are coming in, we used to get about 1.8 million calls every month. Out of the 1.8 million calls that comes every month, there are about 8 or 9 questions that keeps coming up again and again and again and again. So literally that 80-20 Pareto principle. Now, essentially what we did was we said, okay, let's go and take those 8 questions, add another 25 more questions, put them all into this handset and push it into, and today, 24/7, if the customer wants any of those answers, it's all available on the application. That's digitization. It's available on, and today I have less than 100 people in the call center. So you have, one, improved customer satisfaction because they don't have to call the call center. Nobody wants to call the call center if the information is available right here. And number 2, instead of having 1,500 people, today I have only 100 people, and sustainable. It's not like, I want to cut your salary by 20-25%. No. This is sustainable and the customer is happy with. So you get a picture of what is meant by digitization. Many examples of digitization, including anywhere you go, just keep around. What can be digitized? What can be digitized? You go into an airport and say that, look, when DHL sends me a parcel from London to Malaysia, I know minute by minute where it is. But when I'm sitting in an aircraft, I don't know whether the baggage is coming with me or not. And these are things that you should keep thinking, as a finance professional. It'll be good for you to say that, look, okay, if that is digitized, right, and the amount of monitoring that is happening today can be avoided. Number of people making sure that the baggage is there, lost baggages, the amount of money that the airlines loses on lost baggage is very heavy. And by providing a simple application, customer satisfaction goes up, the amount of money that we spend goes down too. So this is where you move. This is where you move, right? From a bean counter to a bookkeeper to a goalkeeper to a business partner to someone who is very strategic as a finance professional. And this is exciting. This is exciting, right? Let me move on. Now, I want you to see this video in terms of business model that we talked about. I hope you can hear the voice.
2 women from Harvard Business School dreamed up a company based on a simple premise. A woman never has to wear the same outfit twice, and she doesn't have to buy it at all. all. Sounds good, right? Millions of other women like that idea too. Michelle Miller's inside a warehouse in Secaucus, New Jersey, just west of New York City, with a story that you'll see only on CBS this morning. Michelle, we like it. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, this is just about every woman's fantasy. Thousands and thousands of dresses right at her fingertips. Well, Rent the Runway wants to change the way a woman gets dressed and how she invests in a wardrobe. So the woman who says to you, I have nothing to wear, you're turning her on her head.
Well, we have 100,000 options of what she can wear.
Inside this 40,000 square foot warehouse in Secaucus, New Jersey, is the giant closet that is Rent the Runway. The company, part e-commerce site and part tech startup, stores some pretty glamorous merchandise. 100,000 designer dresses, all available for rental through their website.
Before we send out any dress or any piece of jewelry to a customer, we'll do a final check to make sure that it's in perfect condition.
With more than 250 designer brands, rental prices range from $5 to $475. This $3,500 Calvin Klein dress rents for $170. This $1,000 Oscar de la Renta necklace for just $150. Jennifer Hyman is Rent the Runway's CEO. Who is Rent the Runway's target customer?
I call her the go-getter girl. She's a professional, and she's using Rent the Runway because it helps her optimize her time.
Do these designers see you as their competition?
Designers see us as one of their biggest allies because we're introducing a demographic of women that was not entering department stores to their brands. They come to me, they start renting $2,000 dresses, and they develop that brand affinity early. Fashion.
Parties and dates going on 3 years. She now tries on possible rental.
We don't always splurge. It feels like a very inexpensive luxury.
With thousands of styles to choose from, customers can browse by trend or event.
All right. Okay. I'll probably move on. So essentially, you get a picture that suddenly somebody comes out with this idea, and this was never thought of before, renting a dress, renting a Gucci bag, renting a Prada glass, whatever, like suddenly a new business comes in and that business was worth about $100 million. So again, a change of business model can drive a fair amount of change to the business and very successful too, right? And again, there are a number of companies even in Malaysia. I can tell you I'm a mentor, an official mentor for a company called Endeavor. And I find a number of 25, 26, 30-year-old boys and girls who come back and come out with some fabulous ideas, right? There's a company here called Makeover Guys, which is there in the slide. And I'm a mentor for this company. Essentially, what they do is this, that if I want to rent my house, I'll call them up and say, hey, Makeover Guys, can you come? They quickly come, change my carpet, change my screen, change my the wall paintings or whatever it is and make it look fantastic. And instead of renting it for say 2,500 ringgit, I can get about 3,500 overnight because it looks fantastic. That's why it's called Makeover Guys. And similarly, if I want to go and sell my property, you bring them over, they just make it so beautiful that it's easy to go and sell. So suddenly you see this was not there before, and these guys come out with this idea and they implement, and suddenly, so the so-called business model is very, very important. Now, I also want you to see this. Generally we think that all this data analytics and are only for sophisticated industries and all that stuff, which is not the case. And I want you to spend about a couple of minutes here. I'm conscious of my time also. So
I'm here to share a story with you about the connected cow. Yes, there is such a thing as a connected cow. It's a sexy story. It's got all of the buzzwords of today, the Internet of Things, the cloud, data science, analytics. But it's also about how a little bit of ingenuity can transform even some of the oldest industries in the world. And let me explain what that means. That's a connected cow that I'm talking about. Look at those pedometers on their feet. I'm wearing one of them. It's made by Fujitsu. It's very reliable. It has a 5-year battery. It can survive even the toughest environments in the farm. And it's constantly measuring the number of steps the cow takes. And that data is being sent to the cloud. into Microsoft Azure, where there is a service that's analyzing the number of steps the cow is taking. So, do cows need to take 10,000 steps a day too? Before I give you the answer, let's take a step back. Every company is a data company, even the ones you least expect, even dairy farms. Now, dairy farms have all the constraints of a modern business. They have a fixed production capacity. They have a herd that they have to manage. There's farm labor, which is very expensive. So what could a dairy farmer do? Well, there are two important controls. First, he can monitor for disease and prevent the loss of herd by early detection. Second, he can improve cattle production by accurate detection of estrus. Now, if you remember high school biology, estrus is when the animal goes into heat. And it turns out that cattle goes into heat only for very short durations of time. That's true about all farm animals, by the way. All animals, they are ready to mate and have children only during very short.
Okay, so you get a picture. So whether it is a sophisticated industry, not so sophisticated industry, whether it is cattle industry, whether it's agriculture, there's a huge amount of technology that's being used in agriculture. We can give you examples later. But fundamentally, any industry that you take, it's got huge amounts of opportunity to use technology to enhance and add value to the organization, right? Even this company that the slide that you find here, this company exports shrimps and lobsters to the US, and they just attached a QR code to it, and a bit of a blockchain technology that's being used. Now, when a customer in the US opens it up and looks at the QR code, it tells you clearly that this particular lobster was harvested 5 days before in a shore in Australia. And the minute they know that it is fresh, these guys are willing to pay you 30 to 40% premium. And that's the power of technology. Now, does it mean that as finance professionals, we should understand all the technology, that we need to understand fully end-to-end of Python? That's data scientist work. If somebody wants to do it, you are the most capable person on earth who can do that piece. But somebody says, look, I want to understand the use cases and take those use cases into my organization. That's also great value add, right? So whether you want to be an in-depth data scientist or you want to use these use cases to go and drive value to the organization, it's up to your aptitude. But fundamentally, what we're saying is that we have to move from our traditional book closure controls to embracing technology, driving technology to add value to the organization that we are in, right? Now, so let me do this promise of analytics. Now that we have seen what is meant by digital disruption, we've also seen what is meant by digital transformation. Again, very briefly, though, given the shortage of time, the promise of analytics. Analytics can increase your revenue if you're careful. And if you know exactly what you're doing, every company, large, small, again, if you look at telecommunication companies, uses this extensively, right? They can predict with about 90% accuracy whether you're going to go away from me or not. It's called churn prediction. They can predict. And the minute they know that within a matter of, if they can predict that you are going to leave my network in about 3 to 4 months, I'll start calling you now. Tell me why you're unhappy. Let me help you with, I'll fix this. Can you stay with me? And the predictive capabilities of analytics is immense, actually. Reducing costs, I'll give you a number of examples. Productivity can be increased, customer satisfaction can be increased, and the amount of fraud detection that can be used using analytics is immense. If you're an internal auditor, if you're using a traditional method of sample testing, you should go back 30 years, right? And today it's all about data analytics to go big data, whatever that you call it, to go and drive a fraud detection. Like there's one quick example that I can give you is I had about 1,700 suppliers and I had about 4,000 employees. We wanted to go and match, and we asked the system to go and match the phone number, the address, the husband's name, the wife's name, whatever, even unstructured data that was available, we matched it. And we found out that there were 7 employees who were also suppliers. And out of the 7, probably about 3 of them were false alarm. The other 4 we fired. Now, did we do sample testing? Yeah, we could have done sample testing, but you couldn't have found those 7. Now, the samples are coming from big data. That means the 7 that you got to go and look behind based on the hypothesis that we came out is all about the sample that you're bringing. You take the 7, go in depth, find out as to who they are, who are fraudsters, and remove them in a way. So pretty interesting. In procurement, there's a huge amount of scope for analytics too. Now, if I look at it, Gartner has come out with this piece. Again, all of us will have to probably get into what happened. We are very good at descriptive analytics. We are very good at it. But today, with big data and tools that are available, we can take much larger data and do this, what happened, relatively easy, right? Then the second piece is diagnostic analytics. Why did it happen? Can we avoid this from happening? We don't want to make the same mistake again and again. The third one is the predictive analytics. Will it happen? Will this customer go away from me? How do I go and stop the customer from going away? Is this curve going to fall? Right? All the while this has been going up, whether it's going to fall. If it's going to fall, what am I going to do? Right? If the data revenue falls from 5 ringgit per gig to 50 cents, will I survive or not? That's a predictive analytics. So we need to probably go and start thinking about those stuff. And then finally, prescriptive is to go and say, okay, this is what is going to happen based on the analysis. And these are 7 things that we should do as CEO and as a head of strategy, as a head of finance, so that we can predict, we can avoid this falling off the cliff, and at the same time make sure that the organization sustains, right? Now, on the right-hand side is one simple example of, this is a very funny example. Target figured out that a teenage girl was pregnant even before her father did. So this girl was going and buying a few things, and suddenly the target is like your shop and stop in a way. And they kept sending some materials which are all relating to pregnancy. The father got very upset. He went to the target manager and said, "Why are you sending all this stuff to me?" And they said, then he apologized profusely. But after 2 months, the father came back and said, "Yeah, what you said is right. She is pregnant." So what Target did was to create an algorithm to identify 25 products when analyzed together will assign each shopper a pregnancy prediction. So they were able to predict that she was pregnant before anyone else knew. So pretty interesting as a topic. It's real. It's not fake, right? So this I will skip in the interest of time. Now, from a finance perspective, how can analytics help? And again, like as I said, in the past, there are many things that we couldn't do because of the volume, because of the complexity. And today, nothing is impossible. We've got about 7,500 towers in Celcom. And we are in a position to find out the profitability for each of those 7,500 towers. And if I say that out of the 7,500, 250 towers are not making money, and I'll go back and tell the CEO that, look, 250 towers are not making money, what do we do? Then either you shut it down completely, or you do some promotions near it so that the revenue goes up, or you do something around cost so that the cost comes down. So the amount of work that you can do to drive the financial planning analysis and adding value to the organization is extremely high. Pricing analysis. Pricing is so sensitive for telecommunication. Like for most of it is, but for telecommunication, it's even more. Now, because if I take 1 ringgit out of your pocket, that means if the ARPU goes up by 1, I get 12 million a month. Multiply by 12, we get about 144 million to the bottom line. Same thing, if I lose 1, I lose 144 million from the bottom line. So it is very sensitive. So we need to be very careful. And if you don't analyze it very carefully, using the tools that's been given for analytics, we'll be in trouble. We used to have customers like high-value customers, mid-value customers, low-value customers, no-value customers. We wanted to sort of understand the profitability for each of those customer segments. We could do it, right? ROIC by product. There are certain products that are profitable. So there are certain products which are not profitable. So can I do ROIC? That means including assets, do the allocation, make sure that we understand. And if certain products are not profitable and they're not strategic in nature, we are ready to go on. So all this decision by the company cannot be taken without a proper analysis being done. Treasury opportunities, HR opportunities, procurement opportunities, controllership opportunities. And today, any of the mundane work is being fortunately done by the system. Bank reconciliation, for example, for telecommunication company is huge. You have 2.5 million postpaid customers, and they can pay through cash or a bank or a dealer. There are 25 touch points for them to go and pay. So every month, 2.5 million customers multiplied by 25 is the potential transaction that's possible. And then imagine you do that for 12 months. It's a killer. If there is an RPA which does all the routine work, and then you end up doing the analysis at the higher level. So this is why I said that moving forward, the work is a lot more interesting. It's a lot more brain power oriented, lot more analytics oriented. And today, if I look at the industry, as I think Willa also said, the industry is looking for people who have got this capability. And the minute you get this capability, your salary grows up, your promotion goes up, and your importance to the company goes up. You end up attending all these key meetings because you can think and you can get deeper into the numbers to come out with the answers in a way. So predictive analytics is again, don't think that it is it's unique. Every company that you can think of, which are fairly large, whether it is Daimler, whether it's Boeing, you name them, they all have this, and without which their days will be numbered in a way, right? Now, I just want you to see this piece of last video that I want to show you. 1 minute, 2 minutes, and I can close it.
With nearly 100,000 trucks and hundreds of aircraft, UPS averages 15.8 million packages delivered daily worldwide. While an individual person may not save much by only making right turns, since UPS implemented a right turn policy in 2004, they have significantly increased profits while reducing emissions and accidents. UPS estimates the right turn heavy policy combined with its routing software shortens routes by 20.4 million miles and saves 10 million gallons of gas while delivering an additional 350,000 packages and reducing CO2 emissions by about 20,000 metric tons each year. UPS engineers noticed how waiting to turn left caused trucks to fall behind on their schedules, consume more gas, and increase the probability of accidents. Their software maps routes with only right-hand turns, unless it's quicker or easier to proceed with a left-hand turn. A driver estimates they do about 90% right-hand turns. The television show Mythbusters tested the policy with one route using 8 left and 4 right turns, and another route using 1 left and 23 right turns. The UPS-like route was just over 1 mile and 9 minutes longer, but it reduced gas consumption from 6.8 to 4 pounds. UPS's software probably would have added 1 or 2 more left-hand turns to be more efficient on time, while still saving gas.
So you can see that, it's clearly counterintuitive to say that, look, when I'm driving on the right side of the road in the US, there'll be turning right is easy. Turning left is a little more difficult because you need to wait for traffic signal. And they also found out that most of the accidents happen when they are turning left. And they came out with the policy saying no left turn, which means that instead of taking 1.5 kilometers to go to deliver a parcel, they take 3 kilometers. In spite of it, they save 200 million. And again, purely somebody observing, analyzing the data, coming back and saying that, okay, let's come back with this policy. And the policy is implemented, and it's driving about 200 million to the bottom line of the company, which is phenomenal. Data storytelling, moving forward as finance professionals, this is so important. When days are gone where you are an introvert and we need to come out and share our ideas. Finance professionals have got so much of information in their mind that it has to come out as a story, right? You can't be just narrating the slide. So obviously, the more story that you come out with, the better it is. And I used to be an introvert myself, and I don't want to even pretend that I'm not an introvert. I was. For a period of time, you just gradually come out of it and start sharing your thoughts. And it doesn't mean that every time what you say is right. It doesn't have to be right all the time, but at least you share your thoughts, which gives a room of people to say, oh yeah, this is his idea. And 8 times out of 10 times you're right, 2 or twice you're wrong, so be it, but at least you're sharing your ideas, and that's important. And there is, again, there'll be a course on this, which is going to be extremely important for us. Now, finally, this is it, that analytics is a foundation for digital transformation. Digital disruption is happening to every single industry. It's happening to you. If you think that it is not happening to you, you need to think harder. And again, it's an exciting world. It is not a boring world. moving forward. And so please don't think that this is not your business, and so I don't have to worry about digital disruption. Let the marketing worry about it. Let the strategy worry about it. It is you who will have to worry about it. Ultimately, you are the fiduciary. You have the fiduciary responsibility for the organization. Anything that happens to the top line and the bottom line will have an impact on the organization as a whole. And so if you really want to add value, you need to say, okay, let me go and understand what this is all about. Keep an open mind. It is interesting. So it's not boring at all, right? And again, here is the McKinsey chart, which says that, look, if you're a data-driven organization, if you bring in that culture, your profitability will be much better, your share price will be much better, all that stuff. Now, this is my last slide. I stop with this, and yeah, maybe I overshot by 5-10 minutes, but fundamentally, in this new world, it is not about the big fish which eats the small fish. It's a fast fish that eats the slow fish in a way. And in terms of the skill sets that's needed are complex solving, problem solving, critical thinking, hypothesis builders, people management. Now, do we need to understand the IFRS? The answer is yes, but that's hygiene factor. So if you want to really grow to the next level, this is all important. Now, fundamentally, torture the data, and it will confess to anything. That means the more you look at it, who can torture the data better than finance professionals? So it is all in your hands. And if you torture the data, you can get some good results. Data is the real currency of any company. Again, you heard that from the Microsoft professional. Even for cows, they have this pedometer, and they keep making sure that that walks about 10,000 steps a day. So with that, I stop my presentation. So thank you again, Villa and team, for giving me this opportunity. This is a pretty exciting time for all of us. I can tell you why am I excited every day morning when I get up. You know, like I really want to share this with as many people as possible. And if you embrace this, your career is you will be adding, first of all, a huge amount of value to the organization that you're serving. And at the same time, that will also help you with your career, salary, and your moving forward. Yeah. Thank you so much, Villa. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
All right. Thanks, Chari. I think we had a really interesting session today. I think in the interest of time, I think we'll skip the Q&A. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put on the chat. We'll respond to you later. And Chari, is it okay if we share the slides later to everybody else? Okay, great. So just very quickly, I'm just going to share upon the next part, which is really around the whole introduction of our advanced enterprise data practitioner, right? So just now we've heard from Chari in terms of why is data literacy so important? How is it going to impact your organization as well as yourself? Now the question is really, how do we upskill yourself as well as your organization in terms of this area, right? So this is where we have collaborated very holistically with ACCA as well as industry leaders to really build a holistic data literate pathway that will really help to complement some of the accounting and finance skills that you really already have, right? This will enable you to become more data literate and to future-proof yourself in terms of your career, in terms of even helping your organizations to add value as well as impact, right? So just very quickly to touch upon the Advanced Enterprise Data Practitioner, it is a very holistic program, right, that covers 6 key areas, right? We have what we call the big data analytics for non-technical professionals, which gives you an overview of the landscape of data literacy, right? And of course, we have Excel analytics, which is not the basic ones. This is a little more intermediate and advanced, where you talk about trends, patterns, how do you make insights out of it? And of course, we have data visualization for business intelligence, which is where we're going to teach you in terms of how do you use specific tools, whether it's Power BI, whether it's Tableau, to make really strong visualization impact for your audience. And of course, like what Chari mentioned, around the importance of data storytelling. So this is where you'll learn what are some of the concepts and processes that you can take. If let's say you're not a natural extrovert, right? What are some of the concepts that you can take to improve your data storytelling skills? And of course, we just wanted to introduce to everybody some basics of programming. You don't have to be an expert, but at least you know the concept. So at least when you talk to your data scientist friends, you have an idea in terms of what are they going through and how do you then can apply it to your business as well. And we'll always end it with a capstone project, which is basically an overview or project that we get all the participants to do based on all the skills that you have learned. So this is where you do a bit of presentation skills as well, and we'll then assess you in terms of what you have learned and whether you can actually really apply it in a real case scenario, right? So this is basically the Advanced Enterprise Data Practitioner pathway. And these are some of the key information when it comes to this particular program. Of course, this is specially created, so meaning all the activities, the quizzes, all the projects, they're all very skewed to the accounting and finance sector, right? So it's something that's relatable and it's practical for this particular group of cohort, right? So of course you get your CPD hours, it's 6 days, and just for today, there's a special price. Just for this particular cohort, you get 5% ACCA member discount, as well as a pilot program discount of 10%, right? So the price is 3,180 per pax before discount, right? And if you're in an organization, of course, this is where you can actually also claim from HRDF as well. So we are approved by HRDF, and these are some of the potential targeted as well as suggested dates for this particular area, right? So of course, you don't have to make a decision now. It's something that we are sharing with you. If let's say you are interested, what you can do is basically, oh, I forgot, there's a bonus masterclass by Mr. Chari. So Mr. Chari has very generously offered to have a 2 hours masterclass before our Excel analytics modules, where he will share a bit in terms of the strategic imperatives of why data literacy is so important and how you can actually apply it to your business decision. So this is once in a lifetime chance that I think is very important. And I'm really grateful that Mr. Chari has agreed to do this as part of the program as well. All right. And in order for you to actually register your interest, feel free to just scan this QR code, or you will find the link in the chat box where you can actually register, right? You can actually fill out the form. This is where you're going to fill out all your form in terms of your member number as well, and also your feedback, right? And in the form as well, you'll be able to see whether you are interested in this particular program, but you don't have to confirm anything now. You can just put you're interested, and we'll send whatever necessary information or brochures that will be suitable for you, right? So really take a deep dive and think about how this is going to impact yourself as well as the organization that you're working with, and we are more than happy to really give you more information in this instance. All right, so just fill out this form. I'll just give you guys a few minutes to actually fill out the form and get all of those information out there, and then we can contact you as well. All right, so I think that's the end of today's session, right? Vila, would you like to add anything towards the end before I go to the closing?
Joe, no, nothing much from my side. I just want to say a big thank you to Mr. Chari for that fantastic presentation. I mean, I wish we had more time with him. Yeah, and to the members who have signed on today, we have gone through at length, revising the program many times. We have got members who are in analytics and CFOs to give us feedback and how we can improve this program. So I hope that you will take this opportunity to join the program. Should you have any questions or you need further insights or details, you can email to me. I'm going to put my email on the chat group. You can always email to me. You'll get an independent view, of the program itself. So please feel free to do that. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Vila. And I think as we end today's session, it'd be good if, let's say, we have, I think, about 200 people here, can we on our webcam, if it's possible, right, to get a group shot of everybody so that we can have a good picture and we can actually, remember this going forward. So can I have everybody to on their webcam? All right. Maybe Sofian, you can help me out here to do the count.
Yep. Can you stop sharing your slide as well, Joe?
Yep.
Okay. So everyone, smile please. Cheers. Turn on your camera if you have not done so. All right. Okay. From on my count, 1, 2, 3, cheers. Okay. Let me take another one. I have another page. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Say cheese. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sofian. Thank you, everybody. So I guess we're going to close this session. And again, very much thankful to Mr. Chari for taking the time to present today's session. And again, thanks to Vila for your support in this webinar. And to all the participants, again, thank you for your time. I know you guys are very busy. Thank you for your time for today's session and look forward to meeting all of you again in the near future. Thank you and have a good day. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.